Welcome to another episode of the How to Do Your 20's podcast. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about the best cities for single girls in their 20s to go to. And we have Candice with us, and Candice has a blog called Candice Does the World. It's not too risque. Don't worry. Go ahead and check it out. But she's also a freelance writer and has the ability to travel just all the time. And I think that's super awesome. So Candice, first off, thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So what got you started in freelancing before we get started and kick off the list?
I've always been a writer. I grew up in a really isolated town, so I spent like all of my time reading and writing constantly. So I always knew I wanted to study writing, and so I did in university. And then I was hired as a tech writer straight out of university, and it was miserable. I hated it. But then I started freelancing on the side because I was writing about Newfoundland travel, and nobody else was really doing that. So I started making a bit of a name for myself. And by the time I got laid off from my job, like 2 years later, I had enough like freelance kind of experience that I could keep going from there full time. And it's been fun. It was a lot of hard work, but it paid off, I think.
I think it's so awesome that you're able to freelance full time and travel so much. So let's just jump right into it. So let's start with the first city. And I don't know if this is in a specific order or if it's kind of random. Yeah, so let's go ahead and jump into the first city you want to talk about.
Alrighty. My first one I would have to, probably my favorite, is Reykjavík in Iceland. It's just people there are so welcoming. It's really, if they know you're a traveler or if you're from away, sorry, the cats are fighting. They just really embrace you. Like they love having people visit their city. So when I was there the last October, we made friends so easy. It was like I felt like the most beautiful woman in the world because everyone hit on me constantly. It was really fun.
Iceland was never going to be one of my guesses for one of the top cities.
No?
No, that's surprising. So what's the dating scene like there?
It's kind of apparently they have like an iPhone app that people can check to make sure you're not related to the person you're dating.
You're not, say that again?
They have an iPhone app where you can look up the person you're dating to make sure you're not related to them. Yeah.
Wow.
Because
Wow.
it's a small town. I mean, it's probably 100,000 or 150,000. I'm not sure. So as someone living there, it might be a little hard because you're bound to run into the same people over and over again. But I don't know. It seemed really easy to meet people and to date, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think generally speaking, when you go to a city where you're different and you're an outsider, it's a lot easier to date. I think there's something in
Yeah.
human DNA where they see, wow, that's a different kind of person. Like our genes will match really well because they're so different.
Yeah, yeah. It's it's a cold place, so I guess you got to keep warm somehow, right?
Yep, exactly. So what about touristy things? Is there a lot of touristy things to do?
Yeah, Reykjavik. I spent most of my time outside the city because we did me and my friends did a road trip. Iceland's just absolutely phenomenal. So, uh, the nightlife in Reykjavik is pretty amazing. Like they do this thing. It's so expensive to drink there that they do this thing called the Run Tour. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's like everyone goes to a house party first, everyone drinks, and then everyone like the streets just like light up at midnight. It's insane. Everyone's out roaming around like busking and bar hopping, and it's a small town, so you can get around quite easily. And we didn't do that much touristy stuff in the town, to be honest. We went to see the church and stuff, but we mostly kind of ate and drank and met people. Yeah.
Very fun. So the next one I see you have on the list is Calgary. Can you tell me a little bit
Yeah.
about that?
Calgary's really good because it's a very modern kind of city full of young professionals. The whole industry in Alberta is oil and gas and stuff. So, and I have a ton of friends who moved there to work in geology or whatever. And so it's a boom town, I guess. I mean, I've made more friends in my short amount of time in Calgary than I have anywhere else. Like, it's so easy to meet people because everyone's just moving there looking for work and they're young and like, and people like to spend their money there. So it's super easy to meet people. Yeah.
So how was the dating scene there?
Good. You get a lot of interesting characters because it's very much a money-oriented kind of place. So you get kind of the worst of humanity and the best, I guess.
That's
But
most big
it's
cities, I think.
yeah, but it's a beautiful city. Everyone there is super active because it's right next to the Rocky Mountains and stuff. So um, everyone's on the go all the time. The nightlife and the food scene is pretty sweet, and it's dating. I mean, all my friends who moved there are now engaged or have babies. So
I guess that's a good thing.
yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, the babies part to me, it could go either way. I think I'm starting to be at that age where when my friends tell me, "Oh, we're about to have a baby," I don't know whether to say, "Oh, dude, I'm so sorry," or "Hey, congratulations."
I know it's so funny, and I'm like nowhere near that yet, and I probably won't be for quite some time. So it's like I'm just gonna go travel across the world now.
I think
uh,
that's a good thing. I think it's good to kind of get all that wildness out while you're young.
yeah.
I mean, I don't
Oh,
want to have a midlife crisis. That's my big goal in life is not to just leave my wife and kids and buy a sports car. So I think it's good to I want to get so sick of the traveling and the dating that by the time I settle down, it's like I don't want to go back to that. That was too much.
totally. We hard enough, right? So, and I mean, by the time I have kids, my friends' kids will be old enough to babysit mine. So,
Yeah, it's perfect.
yeah, that's my logic.
So the next city we have is Athens. Why Athens?
um, Greek men are very forward, I guess. Not like aggressive or anything, just very they have I spent a lot of time there last year in 2014, and I met some really cool people. And generally, I found Greek men were very not afraid to come up to you and start a conversation. Very much like I had a couple of men come up to me on the street and be like, "Oh, you're so pretty. What are you doing?" And I mean, I guess you can consider that creepy sometimes, but but for the most part, like it was just a very open place, I guess, you know?
Hmm.
Um, it's there's a lot going on. There's a lot of young people, a lot of travelers, and I like big burly Greek bearded men, so it worked out well for me.
That does sound. It's funny you say because the whole creepy versus like, oh, that's sexy or whatever. Like, there's a fine line I found
Yeah.
with women between like, oh my god, that's exactly my ideal thing I want a guy to do, and like, dude, that's super creepy.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
I think like bringing like chocolates and flowers. It's like, oh my god, that was so sweet, or like, whoa, way too much.
I'm probably in the latter group. I'd be like, oh my God, slow down.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends, but I always found that so funny because I've had a lot of friends that are girls, and they'll tell me, "Oh my God, this guy did this," and I'm like, "That's the same thing that the guy from last week did that you said was absolutely the grossest thing ever, or whatever."
That, that's very true. It's like it depends on the person too, I guess.
What?
But I guess the fine line would be like catcalling as opposed to like, coming up to me and having a conversation and maybe, I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah.
And in Athens, how was the food?
Oh my God, I'm obsessed with Greek food. It was, oh God, everything was so good. I had this favorite dish called biordi, which was like melted feta and halloumi, or not halloumi, but some kind of other cheese, and it's melted in like oils with peppers and stuff. And it was like, I had this restaurant in Santorini that I used to have it at all the time, and so like I was completely obsessed with it. But everything, I mean, even if you're not an olive lover, the olives there are just better and different, you know?
And
Yeah.
wine? You have some good
And
wine?
wine, cheap wine. Yep. I'm a beer drinker, so that was hard because they don't really do beer very well. But there used to be where I was staying, there was like a convenience store that sold like 2 liter plastic bottles of wine for €2. So spent a lot of time there.
That's how you get the high quality wine.
Yep, totally.
Plastic bottle wine. So,
Yeah.
what about like as far as touristy things? I mean, how do you feel about the city that in that regard?
Um, I mean, I went to Athens on 3 separate occasions, and I didn't make it to the Acropolis to my last trip, which is strange. But I was avoiding it because I know it gets crazy, like busy and touristy. But when I went there, when I finally got up to the Acropolis and like saw the temple and stuff, it was mind blowing. It's stunning. It's such a crazy piece of work that you just can't wrap your head around how someone built this thousands of years ago, right? So. Um, I mean, that's the main draw of Athens, I guess. But there's a ton of museums, a ton of really cool like ruins around scattered around the city. Um, yeah, I loved Athens. People kind of don't either love it or hate it, I think. But I
Mhm.
think everyone should go at some point.
And then the next one you have on the list is Montreal. Tell me, why is Montreal on the list?
It's like one of my favorite cities in the world. Have you ever been?
No, actually, I haven't. I haven't been to Canada.
Okay. Well, if you come to Canada, Montreal should like be in your top place to go.
So it's good
It's
for guys and girls.
Oh, totally. It's a really you know how you go to certain cities and you love them because they have this like spirit or this atmosphere about them. Montreal was like that for me. It's just this really kind of free-spirited, fun-loving kind of city. There's a couple of universities there, so there's a ton of young student population. It feels very European because it's like French Canada, so it kind of feels like you're in the middle of Europe somewhere. And I mean, you can get by very easily with English. It's no trouble at all. But there's so much going on in the city all the time. There's this really cool like alternative scene. There's the beautiful downtown old part of the city. There's nonstop festivals, concerts, summer events. Like it's just I had the best time there. Yeah.
Is it kind of expensive?
No, it's probably like the cheapest one of the cheapest big city I think in Canada because I don't even know why. Rent is controlled there. So when I lived there, it was like I paid for an apartment that was like $300 a month, which is nothing.
Wow.
So yeah, and it's like the beer and stuff is cheaper there because their liquor laws aren't the same as the rest of Canada, and it's kind of its own little universe to be honest.
And what about dating? How'd you find the dating life?
Really, really good. Everyone is beautiful there, first of all. Like everyone just knows how to dress really well and knows how to like carry themselves. It's awesome. And it was just really super easy to meet people. Sometimes there was a bit of a language barrier when you're trying to meet like locals and stuff, but there's so many people who come there from around the world and across Canada. So it's meeting people is literally no, you can walk into any restaurant and sit down with someone or any bar and it's like you'll have a friend.
Do most
Yeah.
people there speak French?
There's like a French side of Montreal, and then there's like an English side. So generally, if you're working there and stuff, you have to be bilingual.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's everyone speaks English pretty much. So, but they're
Got it.
very proud of their language. Like if you can speak French, that goes a long way, I think.
So
Yeah.
the next city you have on the list is one of my favorites, a city I recently just got back from, Buenos Aires.
Ah,
Why is
yeah.
Buenos Aires on the list?
I didn't spend much time there because I was on a really quick Kentucky trip. But I remember I got
What's a
off the
Kentucky trip?
It's Kentucky is like this travel group for under 35-year-olds.
Mm.
So it's they had just launched their South American trip, so I was like a media person on one of them. Um, they're everywhere, they're all around the world, and I really love them. I always have a really good time with Kentucky. But we had like 2 days in Buenos Aires, and me and my friend got off the plane, and we were walking through the airport, and we were like, our head was on a swivel the whole time. We're like, oh my God, everyone here is beautiful.
Y- That is true both for the men and the women there. It's they're all gorgeous.
Oh my God, it was crazy. And then we went out to a bar and nobody spoke English and people still tried to talk with us constantly and it made for really awkward conversation, but the guys were very easy on the eyes.
So they try to talk to you in Spanish?
Yeah. Like I don't know any Spanish at all. So,
The guys there are extremely forward, like aggressive, and
really?
oh my gosh, yeah. So I was there for about 2.5 months,
Oh,
and I don't say that as to scare the women away, but I counteract them against men from the United States, which depending on where you are in the United States, it could be different. But I think men in the United States are a little bit shyer. Where they're in Buenos Aires, they're aggressive. They will tell you they like you. They call them chamicheros, and it's just basically like guys that like sweet talkers kind of thing, and they'll constantly be like they'll say whatever they can. But that being said, I've all the girls that I knew in Buenos Aires loved it because constant attention. You know,
yeah. It was I mean I didn't I guess they were forward because yeah, a lot of people came up and talked to us quite often, but it wasn't if you just stand your ground and make it known that you're not interested, they tend to back off, I think. That was a while ago. I can't really remember a lot of what happened there, but
yeah, you were only
I,
there for 2 days. I think that I mean I saw it was really interesting because I saw like at the club and stuff, like guys would just they'd come up to girls, start dancing, and like Like unless the girl was like, "No, leave me alone," they would not stop. Which I don't say that as a bad thing necessarily because you still have the power. You can say no, don't stop. But I had a lot of friends that at first they're like, "Oh, this guy, get him away from me," and 5 minutes later they're making out. So
Yeah,
I think a little
they're
bit of persistence is a good thing sometimes.
yeah, yeah, they know how to charm, I think.
Absolutely, and even in South America, actually with all Spanish speakers, the Argentinian accent is said to be like the sexiest.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, for the men especially. I think on the women it's a little harsh.
Mm,
For women, the Colombian accent's a lot more attractive, but
yeah.
the men, it's straight out of like a movie where you have like that Spanish speaking guy like talking, with his sweet talk or whatever. So it was a little bit
I
more
am a sucker for
challenging.
that.
Yeah, and the food there is amazing too. I don't know
Yeah.
if you had some steak.
Yeah, we went to like a big grill, I think, and just by the time I
Parisia.
left, I had like meat sweats. So,
Yep. Yep, it's delicious and it's so
it was yeah, like
inexpensive.
a Argentinian barbecue, I guess. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I call it Parisia. Yeah.
yeah. And we we had pizza when we first got there. This like guy took us to this really great pizza spot, and I loved the pizza so much, and I was so hungry, I started crying. It was
Wow.
so good. I just had like an emotional breakdown over my pizza.
In the pizza there, you got lucky because that was one of the things all my friends complained about was there was no good pizza. So
Really?
yeah, the steak is good. The pizza, we didn't find it. I mean, I'm not a huge pizza person, but
Yeah.
they would tell me like, oh, none of the pizzas here is good. I think they found one place or something, but anyways.
Yeah, that was the only time I had pizza, so maybe we just got lucky.
So I want to back up really quick. So you said that you went on this trip as a media person. Did they
Yeah.
pay for your trip?
Yeah, it was like they just launched their new tours in South America. So we did Peru, and we were supposed to do Brazil, but we didn't. Like our flights got all screwed up and stuff. So we just did Peru for like 10 days, and then we went to Argentina for 2 days. But yeah, they took on like a bunch of bloggers from around the world and brought them on this massive trip, and it was pretty cool.
So they pay for everything or
Yeah,
just
yep,
wow.
everything. Yep, everything. I mean, they didn't pay us a salary for like the work that we put out from it, but I mean, it was South America. It would cost me just to fly there from here in Newfoundland would be like $1,500. So yeah.
Yeah, if you're listening to this episode and you have a regular corporate job, maybe it's time to think about doing some freelancing and get people to pay for your flights.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's the next city we have on the list?
What do we have here?
Negril? No, I don't know how to say it.
Negril.
Yeah, Negril? It is Negril. Okay.
Yeah. In Jamaica. I was there last year I guess for my friend's wedding, and we ended up staying on in like 2 extra weeks. So we were like staying on a resort, but then we met some locals who like took us out one night and stuff, and it's it's the only one of the few places in the world where being a pasty white ginger is like attractive apparently. It was like I remember sitting at this bar and me and my friend were like just having a beer, and there was this guy next to us and I couldn't stop staring at him because he was so beautiful. He was stunning, and I was like, oh man, like just kind of admiring him. I wasn't gonna talk to him or anything. Then he came over and he like gave me his phone number and stuff, and I was like, what? Yay! So I mean,
Did
nothing
you
happened.
call him?
No, he didn't speak a word of English, so
Wait a
I think
minute. So you're sitting here admiring this guy. He gives you his phone number and you do not call him?
actually I think I did, but I like the number didn't
Can't
work on
talk.
my phone, and I didn't know
Oh.
how to do it, I guess. But
This
he
is
he wanted. I think he told me in like really broken English that he wanted to like take me out at night to this beach place, and I'm like, well, I'm definitely gonna get murdered, so no.
that's too funny. So what else about it did you really like other than the beautiful men?
Oh, it's just it's I mean you can travel and then you can vacation, and that was an actual vacation, and I needed it. Like I didn't have my computer with me. I just like lounged on the beach for 2 weeks and ate a lot and drank a lot. And my best friend, my one of my best friends, the one who got married, I only see her like once every year or two. So it was just me and her having a great time. And um, as far as like I've done a lot of Caribbean vacations at this point,
Mhm.
and I think Jamaica was definitely my favorite because it's just that really nice island atmosphere, and there's a lot of pot, I guess, because everyone's really mellow.
And what was I gonna ask? Oh, so how were the beaches then?
Oh, incredible! And I haven't been able to find any beaches that I love as much as Caribbean beaches, but I haven't been to Australia or anywhere. So um, there was one called 7 Mile Beach that was incredible. It's just like literally 7 miles of perfect sand, and but it was quite commercial. Like I mean, there was a Margaritaville everywhere. But me and the same local guy that we had befriended, he took us on like a little road trip around the coast, and we went to this really cool like beachy area where we hopped in a boat and went into this sandbar where this like there's a bar made of driftwood called Floyd's Pelican Bar. So it's just like this shitty little pub on like stilts in the ocean, and they serve really cheap food and beer. So it was so good.
That's awesome. Is
I
it
could make you feel
dangerous?
No, well, I mean, I'm sure it's not crazy safe, but we didn't feel like it was dangerous.
Yeah, I've heard Jamaica is not the safest place.
I think it's mostly Kingston, the capital city, that's quite sketchy.
Okay.
But I mean, the rest of the island is so touristy because it's all packaged vacations, right? So yeah, I mean, I can hear wind and snow outside. It's like every Canadian wants to be there right now. Yeah.
So the next city you have on the list is Honolulu. Why is
Yeah.
this?
Well, I haven't been to Honolulu yet, but I'm going on Monday for the first time to Hawaii, and I have a couple of blogger friends there, and they were like, "Oh yeah, like you're gonna meet a man and just stay here," because apparently they love like voluptuous white women. Yeah, and I mean, I've been following, Instagram posts and stuff around Hawaii, and literally everyone there is either a supermodel or like a fitness trainer because everyone looks insanely beautiful. So my friends are like, "Yeah, you're gonna meet a man and settle down and not come back to Canada."
Yeah, and it's Hawaii. I feel like you can't really go wrong with Hawaii.
Oh God, I cannot wait. Seriously.
So
Yeah.
any other reasons you booked the trip? Anything?
I I
Oh,
found I mean I always wanted to go, but it was not like in my immediate plans. But there's this insane sale for like $600 round trip from like I'm on the east coast of Canada, so it's 24 hours of flying for me. Yeah, it's gonna suck a lot. But it was a $600 flight. Like I couldn't. There's no way I could turn that down. So I
I feel
just
like the airline's losing money on that kind of a flight.
seriously, I don't know how they even could pull that off. To be honest,
Yeah, I
it was
think
just like a freak sale kind of thing.
yeah, it costs more than that. I'm in Los Angeles, California. It's just relatively, I mean, it's not close, but it's closer than you are.
Yeah,
And I think $800. My parents just bought tickets for like $800 round trip
to
to
Hawaii.
Hawaii. Yeah.
Really?
Yep. They,
Wow,
to
that's
be fair,
insane.
that they had to go at a different time, so they're like in peak season.
Yeah, I don't know. Is now peak season? Maybe.
I actually have no idea. Well, I
Okay.
I think peak's probably like winter break and summer break, just like when the kids are all off on vacation. It's during school, so I think it's a little bit less.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. Right. But yeah, it was it was definitely just a freak thing because I mean I can't get to halfway across Canada for that price. So
Do you have any tips on how to find cheap flights?
I just I'm kind of bad at that actually. Like I'm not much of a flight hacker, but I'm just lucky because I know so many people in the travel industry that like if they post deals for places, it just I end up seeing them in my news feed or Facebook or Twitter or whatever. So I just follow a ton of flight hacker people.
Well, that's a good tip right there.
Yeah, 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 yeah. There's a lot of really good sites. There's one called Flight Hacker Guys or something. I don't know, but it's people like literally make like a career out of this. So
Do you use a lot of like credit card miles and points?
yeah, I have a Aeroplan and Air Miles, but I'm kind of slow at racking those up. But it makes a big difference for sure. Yeah, yeah.
I'm a big fan of getting the credit cards, and because a lot of them, I don't know if it's the same in Canada, but in the States, you can get 50,000, 75,000 miles just by getting a credit card and spending a certain amount in like 3 months.
Yeah, yeah. That's I actually do that as well because I mean, you could the last card that I got gave me enough miles just for signing up to like go anywhere in North America. So
Yeah,
that's
I've
not a bad deal.
accumulated enough miles at this point to fly around the world, I think like 2 or 3 times.
That's
And
ridiculous.
Yeah, it's super awesome. So finally, what I had to do with my business is switch over to a cashback card. I have a 2% cashback card, and I'm like, I get slightly more value out of miles, but I've got like 500,000 miles sitting in the bank. Maybe it's time to just start getting those points or the
Totally.
money back.
Yeah, it's worth it. Like I mean, sometimes you get really convoluted flights and stuff, but still. And it's so expensive for me to fly anywhere that it's like, might as well be using every points for any possible way, I guess. But
Yeah,
yeah.
and I think you and me both were kind of open schedule wise. So
Yeah,
if it's a flight that leaves on a Tuesday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, yeah, just, let's do it. It doesn't
totally.
matter.
Yeah, that's definitely the benefit. I mean, I had so many friends who were like, "I want to come to Hawaii with you." I'm like, "Well, you can, but nobody could actually do it."
It's tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the last one we have on the list is Berlin.
Yay, Berlin.
Why Berlin?
I haven't been there yet either. But I'm have plans to move to Berlin in like July or August, I guess. I'm gonna get a work visa and just, experience what it's like to live in the middle of Europe for a while. But I have so many friends and bloggery travel people who are already there, and it's just a very expat kind of friendly place. Berlin is super artsy, very like liberal kind of place. And I just have a feeling that I'm gonna fit in really well. And for some reason, me and Germans just like German men love me. So
I've been hearing. It sounds like that's a consistent theme. We found a lot of different cities where the men love you there.
yeah, but I mean, I traveled so much last year, and there were so many amazing Germans that I met. I'm like, I really like these people. I want to go hang out with them more. It's such a free kind of free spirited city. Cheap beer is really a huge bonus for me. So
Berlin's high up on my list as well. I've heard it's cheap for Europe.
yeah,
It's I've heard the women are quite attractive as well.
definitely.
And it's just supposed to be, like you said, like a really cool, a big entrepreneur scene too. And I think where there's a big entrepreneur scene, there's cool stuff to do.
Yeah,
I mean, I can think of like San Francisco is another example, or New York is another example where there's a lot of entrepreneurs, and where there's entrepreneurs, that means that there's people that are successful and think like outside the box, if you will.
totally. And it's a very young city too. It seems like so.
I've heard that
Yeah.
as well. A lot of history too, which is gonna,
Oh my
I
God.
think, is really cool.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing to be in the middle of a place like that. I don't think it's particularly the nicest, most attractive city in the world, probably, um, but I mean, it's just the spirit of it. I think I find really
Absolutely.
appealing. So yeah, I'm excited. I haven't lived abroad before, so it's a big step.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So those are the 8 cities that you'd recommend for single women in their 20s to go. Now, there's a couple that I'm kind of disappointed you didn't throw on there. First of all, Italy. Nothing from Italy?
I haven't been to Italy, so I don't know.
Oh,
It's
uh,
not a place that overly appeals to me, to be honest.
gotcha. I
Yeah,
would have to say I've heard from a lot of women, Italy is a really nice place to go. I mean, lots of good food.
yeah.
I hope beautiful men. I'm Italian, so that's I'm gonna put that out
That's
there.
very true. Yeah, I have some Italian friends.
Some nice accents. I imagine, I've heard both things. I've heard it on men where I'm like, that's a good sounding accent for a guy, and I've heard other Italian men where I'm like, dude, that sounds awful. Like you need to work on your English.
Yeah.
The
I
other,
mean, I want to go. I'll go at some point. It just hasn't been like a priority. But yeah, you're probably right. I mean, Italians are kind of known for being romantic and charismatic. So yeah.
the other two, and we talked about this before, was London and Paris, and I constantly hear that from women, like, oh my God, I don't understand really either one of those, but London especially to me sounds like a boring city, but I've had so many girls tell me like, "Oh my gosh," and maybe it's the British guy thing, but London has very little appeal to me.
I I didn't love it. I don't. I mean, I'm not a big city girl anyway, which is ironic because I'm going to Berlin. But my first time I ever traveled abroad, I went to London. Like first time ever left even Newfoundland. So I went from a city of like 150,000 to like a couple million. So I was quite overwhelmed the whole time I was there. But I found people really rude all the time, and maybe that's just because of my small town upbringings. But I don't know. I didn't love it, but I have friends who are like obsessed with the city, so I feel like I should go back and give it another chance, maybe.
Do you like British men?
Yeah, they're all right.
All right.
I've found I've met a lot of British men who I don't know are kind of rude-ish, but
Yeah.
maybe I love the accent, so that's good. Yeah.
It's interesting to me. You know, it's interesting because some countries, both the men and the women from there are like adored. Like, for instance, Buenos Aires, the men in America are like, yeah, the women are super attractive there, and the women too think the men are attractive. But then there's other cities like Paris where, or maybe London's a better example. London, where a lot of women are like, oh yeah, British guys are super attractive. I don't hear too many guys that are like, yeah, British women. In
Yeah.
fact, I've heard quite the opposite a lot, including from myself. When I think of British, and no offense to any of the British women listening, but when I think of a British woman, I don't think of the same as like when I think of a Swedish woman. When I think of a Swedish woman, I'm like, yeah, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, totally. No, I absolutely understand that, and I guess it's probably us stereotyping as well, but
Sure.
totally.
I mean, there's obviously exceptions always to all
Yeah.
this stuff, but I mean, so how do you feel about Paris, men from Paris,
I didn't
French
really
men?
meet anyone from Paris when I was there because I when I was working as a tech writer, my company sent me to Brittany, France. So that was like the East Coast, no, West Coast, I guess. Um,
There's only one
and
coast, isn't there?
I don't know. Oh yeah, I guess you're right. So West.
American geography.
I always say everything's East Coast because I'm East Coast. So, um, but I was in a really small French town for like 2 weeks. And that was actually I met a really nice guy there, and we had a little romantic fling. So I guess that could count as one. Um, but so I spent like a day in Paris going there and a day coming back. So I didn't really get to meet anyone. Um, I didn't like I didn't love the city either, to be honest. I mean, I did a walking tour. I hired like a private guide because I had such a short amount of time. I wanted to like see as much as I could. And there was one really cool moment because we went to like look at the Eiffel Tower across the river, and I didn't realize that on the hour it lit up and started sparkling. So I was just like standing there with her and like watching the Eiffel Tower and just started like, you know, having a party. It was so amazingly wonderful. I can see why, like, if I were there with a significant other, that would have been a cool moment. But it was just me and my female guide. So I don't know. I didn't really meet any Paris men, but Frenchmen in general are pretty smooth talkers, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've heard that. Well,
yeah.
that pretty much wraps up the list. Any last advice for the listeners? Just general advice. It can be whatever you want. It could be about traveling, where to go. It could be for anything.
Oh God, I really recommend people to go check out the Balkans because I spent most of the last year there, and nobody ever goes to Europe. It goes to travel the Balkans, like Croatia and Montenegro, and well, Croatia's pretty popular, I guess, but like Montenegro and Bosnia and Albania, those places. People there are super friendly. Even if you're traveling alone, which I did. I mean, I met people everywhere, and it was fantastic. And the history is crazy, and it's beautiful. And the coastline, like the Mediterranean's right there. It's cheap as hell. You can get by like $50 a day, no problem. So everyone go hang out in the Balkans, I think.
Awesome. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. And if you did, make sure you hit the big red subscribe button down below. You can also check me out on Facebook and on Twitter. And I release a new video every Monday. And by hitting that subscribe button, you'll get those new videos every Monday. And this is really a podcast. It's also a website. You can check out the website. It's howtodoyour20s.com. I'll put a link right over here as well. And what it's all about is trying to improve your life. And we specifically focus on things that people in their 20s are interested in. So make sure you like the video if you liked it. Subscribe. Like us on Facebook and Twitter, whatever. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you again on another video.